Hey, let's welcome in AAA manager Buck Britton for the Orioles. The announcement of the minor league coaching staffs relatively recently, and I think we knew what was coming. And Buck, you're going to move up to AAA. It's going to be exciting for you, a neat challenge for you. I mean, you look back at the last 3 years, there were 2 minor league seasons, and you took Bowie to the championship series in AA twice. So you've got a lot of wins on your resume here. And what are your thoughts on moving up in that challenge?
Yeah, obviously it's super exciting. I've been very blessed to be in the situations that I've been put into, whether it was being hired by the old regime as quickly as I was, and then when Mike and them came in, entrusting me with that assignment at AA in 2019, and now we're here. It's kind of been crazy, but I feel super blessed, and I'm ready for the challenge for sure.
You're not that far removed from your playing days. I can remember talking to you outside the clubhouse at Bowie at Prince George's Stadium over the years. So what, Buck, do you have some manager mentors? Are there some people over these last few years as you've taken this role and run with it that you've leaned on or you've checked in with from time to time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always coaches that I've had in college. I keep in close contact with my coaches in college. But even guys like Gary Kendall, who had a big impact on my playing career, somebody that I relied on for a lot of information. Obviously, the nature of the game is people move on to different places. I was happy he landed on his feet and somebody that I'll keep in contact with. I lean on a lot of people. My dad's a huge baseball junkie. I know it's your dad, but he gives me honest advice, which is nice. But yeah, there's just a lot of people that have shaped who I am as a coach. I always tell people that you learn a lot from people, but it's mainly stuff that you don't want to do yourself. So I just been kind of trying to stay true to who I am as a person and I was as a player, and it's worked out so far. But I've had a lot of really good coaching staffs with me the last couple of years too that I've learned a ton from. Kind of opened my eyes to new ways to think about things. So it's been an exciting run so far.
Are there anything that has surprised you? In other words, when you first decided you wanted to be a manager and the Orioles gave you this chance, I'm sure you thought there's some basics that are going to help me be a good manager. But maybe now looking back, you think, geez, there's some things that until you really do it, you're not quite sure that they're as important as they turn out to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is creating that culture in the clubhouse, right? To get guys through 140, 150 games in a season. But when you step off the playing field, where all the focus has been, how do I get myself better? And now you're in charge of 28 guys, 30 guys on a roster to make sure everybody's doing what they need to do to get themselves into a position to have success in this game. It's definitely a challenge. It's fun and exciting. Building those relationships with players and seeing them grow is awesome. But the preparedness, thinking ahead, way ahead in the game as a manager is a challenge. I like to coach third base, so I got to make sure that when we're coming on offense that we have things set up for the next couple of innings, so that I'm not out there doing jumping jacks and trying to sign language in to the pitching coach or whoever for a move.
Now, being a young skipper, what benefits and or challenges does that present?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is that players can see you sometimes as their peer. It's hard to separate yourself at times and kind of be the leader of that group and have those tough conversations. But it also allows me to build those relationships because in a lot of situations, I'm in the same position in life where these guys are. I have a 2-year-old daughter. My wife's pregnant with our second. A lot of these guys are going through, that adventure themselves. So building those relationships beyond the baseball world, really diving into their personal lives and being able to kind of relate to the things that the world presents today, I think is huge for that relationship process, which then leads into being able to have those tough conversations when I need to have them.
AAA, I'm assuming my experience in the game is very different than managing almost any other level, because now nightly you're dealing with the major league roster, who you have to keep out of the game, who you can't pitch tonight, who might get called up tomorrow or this weekend, all of these machinations. it's much more than your roster you're dealing with, and you're probably talking to Brandon Hyde constantly, maybe multiple times a day. Is that some of the things you anticipate seeing as well?
Yeah, for sure. Just from my days of playing and seeing how that level operates and where we're at as an organization, I would anticipate there's going to be a lot of moves, but it's exciting. You're going to kind of feel like you're a part of that. Hopefully, some success that they have in the big leagues.
Recently, Buck, Fangraphs came out with its top 45 Orioles prospect list, and we were talking before we started taping how exciting the write-ups were about several players, including the two at the top. Everybody knows Adley and everybody knows Grayson, obviously. It's hard to say or read more good things about these guys, but if it's possible to present them, I think Fangraphs did an extensive write-ups that were just glowing about these kids, and it's so exciting. I want to ask you one or two things about each before we wrap it up. With Adley, fans always see he rushes out to the pitcher as he's walking off the mound at the end of the inning, and we assume communication is so good. How, beyond just his physical gifts back there, how is he helping the pitcher within the game?
Yeah, Adley is very in tune with what's going on, situation to situation. He understands the strengths of the pitching staff. I mean, this guy studies the game. He studies his teammates. He is such an inviting guy to talk to that pitchers will seek him out for his opinion, for his advice, which is very rare. There could be a lot of times at that position where a pitcher gives up a home run, let's say. There's some thought that, maybe the catcher led him in the wrong direction. But these guys seek him out, whether they're having success or they're struggling. I think that's just a testament to the character this guy has. I mean, he's a positive leader, but he has a knack for saying the right things when he needs to say them. And I can give you tons of examples when I went out to the mound to take a pitcher out, and we were struggling on defense, and it took 4 seconds for Adley to say something, and everybody nod their head, understand that, hey, we need to tighten it up and move on. So this is a special character kid.
When it comes to Grayson, I sense some of the same things, maybe not to quite that extreme, but I think we can grade his fastball, his curveball, things that scouts look at. To me, with Grayson, there's so much more. This is an intelligent kid who knows how to do smart work to make him better. He seems coachable. There's no ego. It's almost too good to be true, both these kids. And so did you see that with Grayson?
100%. So in my playing days, I was able to go to enough major league spring trainings to be around some really good players. And there were some guys that stood out that I compare him to. One of the guys is Kershaw, and this is just on reference of game day. It's a different man that steps into the clubhouse on game day that's been there for the last 3 or 4 days. Not that he's not preparing, but when it comes time for game day, Grayson kind of flips a switch. He's a great clubhouse guy, tons of energy. But I think the focus really ticks up on game day, and he's out to prove something night in and night out. But he's, like you said, he's a great teammate, huge energy, roots for his teammates to succeed. And that's another special quality in somebody.
Nice. Remind you of Kershaw, huh? That's not a bad name to be linked to.
Well, the stuff, Kershaw's had a really good career. But just the way he prepares himself on game day and kind of flips that switch is pretty cool.
Those are special kids, no doubt. So, Buck, if you go back 5 or 10 years, either when you were playing still in the Oriole farm or later when you moved into coaching, managing, and now Mike Elias comes in a couple years ago, how is it different from 10 and 5 years to today in the Oriole farm?
Whew. Well, I think the first thing that jumps out is the amount of talent that we have, the types of players we've targeted in the draft, our Latin American program that's kicking off. And I got to see some of those kids at a hitting camp early in the off season, and a lot of physicality. A lot of guys are advanced for 16, 17 years old. So that was really impressive. But I think too, the influx of technology, the data that we're able to use to help these players along, proof of what we're saying, and it's made it more of a challenge. You can't just throw something off the cuff as a coach, because players can go back and look at the data and see if it supports it. So, but there's a lot more data that's actually helped, I think, help these guys coach. We brought in a lot of smart, really smart coaches. Um, Whereas to the point where I'm almost the dumbest guy in the room at all times, which is fine with me because I get to learn from them. But um, yeah, it's very different than it was a couple years ago.
I know you're not the dumbest guy in a room when we're talking baseball. I've been around you long enough to know the answer to that, but you are right. You've been surrounded with a lot of smart guys here in recent years, so that's a good thing too. More good minds is a good thing. Hey, Buck, man, look forward to what you guys do with the Norfolk Tides this year. I know you'll do well again. Great success for you the last few years, and keep it going. Have fun this year at AAA.
All right, thanks, Steve.